This is the Griffin Realty Group Ask-A-Griffin podcast, episode number 39. Features. What features should you focus on when buying a property? Are you a home seller or buyer who has questions about buying or selling residential property, but you can't find an easy way to get the answer? Well, then, hey, you're definitely in the right place. I'm Danny Griffin, the founder of the Griffin Realty Group and the host of the Ask-A-Griffin podcast. Now, to help you take immediate action to get started in the right direction, if you need to sell or buy property right now or in the very near future, you can take advantage of our free step-by-step guides that are waiting for you at griffincourses.com. That's GRIFFIN courses.com. All right. So what features should you focus on when you're trying to buy a property? Well, first of all, let's talk about how we're going through this process too. Number one point here is that you really should be conscious about what features are most important to you. See, a lot of buyers, they get going in the process and they just start looking at property online and they get excited that they're making a decision to make a move. Maybe they're upsizing, downsizing. Maybe it's the first time they've ever purchased. Maybe it's a second home in a dream location because they're retiring. Whatever it might be, sometimes we're just looking at the features of the properties and we're getting excited, but we're not really thinking as buyers about what's most important to us. So, for example, when you are downsizing, you are giving up a lot of extra space. For example, when I downsized, I really didn't ever use a formal dining room. I never really used a formal living room. And these were parts of the big house that I had when I was raising my 5 kids. And at that time, we used them and they were important. But then suddenly they weren't important to me anymore. And I didn't need them. So as you walk through the house, you looked at that and you said, well, if I could cut these 2 rooms out, that would cut X number of square feet out and I wouldn't be sacrificing anything. And where did I really live? Well, I lived in the great room where there was an open kitchen and it was a cozy living room with a fireplace. And all of those features were important to me. And I didn't really want to give those up. And especially if I could add a view, I had a nice view to my backyard, but could I replace it by being a little bit closer to the water? And that's the way I thought about what was most important to me. So as I downsized, and I could get a better deal by the pound, as they say, right, per square foot, I still wasn't giving up certain features that I had to have. They were important to me. Also, when I looked at the size of the master bedroom, there was a lot of wasted space. There's a lot of grandiosity when it comes to big master suites and everybody gets excited about them. But really, what do we do when we're in the master? I mean, if you have a nice chair to read in and it's private and you have a nice view and there's a nice bathroom, there's really enough. And so as you're squeezing that down, what are the features that are most important to you? Is it the view out of the master? Well, then if that's most important and not the size, you can think about that going forward. Now, the second point here is not just about the physical features and attributes of the property itself, but really most importantly is that we should consider the lifestyle of the area we're moving into. Not only those property features. See, I tell my buyers when I'm working with them or our agents are working with them, we tell them, look, what's very important for you to consider is when you go out the front door and you take a left or a right, are you where you really want to be? So, for example, another part of my personal downsizing is that we split time between downtown Boston, which is very different from Cape Cod living. So when I walked out the door at the apartment, and again, all we did was rent to get a feeling for the lifestyle, and we really just went into a little studio apartment with, the ceilings and the light. Those were features of the property that were important. But when we walked down from the parlor level onto the street, we were in an area in Boston that we really wanted to be at. It had a very villagey feeling. We could take a very short run or walk over to the Charles River and have this beautiful view of the river across to Cambridge on the other side and the sunsets. And it was just beautiful. And so everything really was about that lifestyle and the convenience. And when the kids stay there, they could walk out the front door and they could get on the MBTA and they could be at school or they could be at friends' houses. Everything was a very convenient lifestyle. And then furthermore, for example, in downtown Boston, A variety of the areas live differently. So, for example, if we were to go to the Back Bay, it lives a little bit more commercially as you got closer to somewhere like a Newbury Street where all the fine shops were, or Boylston Street where there's a lot of action, and the Boston Marathon comes down there, the public library, so there's a lot of noise over there where you might want to just go a little bit further closer to the river in the Back Bay or Beacon Hill and get a little bit more of a neighborhood feeling. See, those are neighborhood lifestyle features. So here we have the consideration of the property features themselves as well as the lifestyle features. And we're becoming conscious of that. There's not just some rush where we put the blinders on and we're looking at property features and money and, oh my gosh, we better hurry up and get a property. Please, when you are buying, one of the best pieces of advice we can give you is slow down. Especially in a fever pitch market, if you are a first-time home buyer. If you can't find what you really want at a reasonable price, you're going to hear me say it right here, right now. Rent. Slow down. There is nothing wrong with taking some time to rent and vet what's most important to you, because sometimes when you enter the housing market as a buyer, you might not know yet. So what's wrong with a trial run in the form of a rental? Absolutely nothing, because you actually take the time to refine what is most important to you. Now, the third point here is to understand this also. No property is perfect. So stay focused on the have-to-have features. So I think a lot of buyers think that they're going to find the perfect property, even if they build it, even if they got, quote unquote, a condominium, they make it their way. It's never really perfect. There's no such thing. There's always some sort of a compromise, especially as part of the process. What do I mean? Well, in other words, when you start, we talked about this in this buyer series. When you start looking for a property, you are starting at the outer ring of the bullseye, moving closer and closer and closer to what's most important to you. Now, as you're doing that, what's emerging is the concept of have to have features. So let's talk about a property that you might be out in the suburbs or in Cape Cod, for example, and you really say, I really love this brand new Tesla that I just bought, and so I can't leave it exposed to the weather. Even though this cottage is beautiful and it has beautiful views of the ocean, there's no garage. And all of a sudden you recognize that the garage is a have-to-have feature because you are also an automobile enthusiast who wants to take care of their car. That's an example. Also, if you have children and you're moving into the city and you're looking at properties that are 1 bedroom, 1 bath, and all of a sudden you say, oh my gosh, I can't just keep doing this pull-out couch thing in 1 bath. I'm sharing it with my child or whomever. I have to have a half bath so that when I entertain, I can have somebody just use the half bath and not my personal bathroom. Those are have to have features. Now, let's go back outside into the lifestyle again. Think about this. I am an avid foodie. I'm a health food guy. And so I want to know immediately, where is the nearest Whole Foods or organic shopping or Trader Joe's? Those are musts. And I have to think about that in the city because it's a walk. It's not easy in the city to have your car and easily jump in it and jump out, especially when you've had a hard time finding the parking space for the day, for the night, whatever it might be. So suddenly you think, oops, I'm living a little bit too far away from those places. And it's a real trek in the snow, in the rain, to go get the basic every day-to-day foodstuffs, right? Also, what about the gym? What about easy access to running or biking? Is it right there? Because if it's not, here's what happens. You don't do it on a whim. See, you want to be living close to these amenities that you want to, on a whim, take advantage of. But if you're too far, guess what happens? All of a sudden, you're isolated in your property, and it can get downright depressing to get locked into a place, and you say, I should have taken my time to think about this. So let's review these bullet points here. The concept is, what features should you focus on when you're looking to buy a property? Well, the first step in focusing on those features is, number one, to be conscious that thinking about features is important. Don't go blindly in it. And once you do, just simply ask what features are most important. It'd be best to just make a list, go down that list, and you'll begin to edit what's most important to you. But don't forget the features of the lifestyle that the location provides you. Make a list of those things that are important. Is it the shopping? Is it the gym? Is it just basic recreation, transportation? What is going to give you that lifestyle that's convenient and comfortable? And lastly, no property is perfect, so you really stay focused on the must-have or have-to-have features. And don't compromise on those, because as you realize no property is perfect, you're going to cheat to the ones you must have. All right, I'll summarize it this way. When sifting and sorting through properties, it's important that you, as the buyer, stay focused on the have-to-have features of not only the property itself, but also the lifestyle that the location of the property offers. All right, hey, remember, you can take immediate action to get started in the right direction if you need to sell or buy property right now or in the very near future by getting our free step-by-step guides. Those are our A through Z, what to do and how to do them, and they're waiting for you over at griffincourses.com, Griffin courses.com. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen so that you don't miss out on any insights each time we upload an episode. We also post all of these episodes on our social media channels, so if you prefer to listen to them or watch them over there, just remember to turn on your notifications for Griffin Realty Group and you won't miss the reminders. We'd also appreciate it if you would share this content with other people that do need to buy or sell in the near future so they get the help that they need. Hey, thanks for listening, but remember, nobody's coming for you, so go take action and get started to work on your own plan for buying or selling property. And we'll be right here in the next episode to help you do just that. Thanks again.